Hey, it's Mrs. Nelson, and I'm back with Because of Winn-Dixie, and we are going to finish our book. So we're going to start on chapter 23, and we're going to go all the way to the end. Chapter 23. Save the sandwiches, Gloria Dump yelled to me. Save the punch. I got my dog pictures, screamed Sweetie Pie. She went running around, tearing them off the trees and the chairs. Don't worry, she kept shouting. I got 'em. I grabbed the platter of egg salad sandwiches, and the preacher grabbed the punch, and we ran into the kitchen with them, and I ran back outside, and I saw Amanda had hold of Miss Franny Block and was helping her into the house. Miss Franny was so teetery in her high heels that the rain would have knocked her right over if Amanda hadn't held on to her. I grabbed Gloria Dump's arm. I'm all right, she said, but she put her hand on my arm and held on to me tight. I looked around the garden before we left. All the crepe paper was melted and the candles were out, and then I saw Otis. He was standing there by his jar of pickles, looking down at his feet. Otis, I hollered at him over the rain. Come on, we're inside. When we got into the kitchen, Amanda and Miss Franny were laughing and shaking themselves like dogs. What a downpour, said Miss Franny. Wasn't that something? That came right out of nowhere, said the preacher. Ooh, said Gloria. Dog, squirked Gertrude. I looked at her. She was sitting on the kitchen table. The thunder was really booming and cracking. Oh, no, I said. I looked around the kitchen. Don't worry, said Sweetie Pie. I saved them, the dog pictures. I got them right here. She waved her wad of magazine pages. Where's Winn-Dixie? I shouted. I forgot about him. I was just thinking about the party, and I forgot about Winn-Dixie. I forgot about protecting him from thunder. Now, Opal, said the preacher. He's probably right out in the yard, hiding underneath a chair. Come on, you and I will go look. Hold on, said Gloria Dump. Let me get you a flashlight and some umbrellas. But I didn't want to wait. I went running right into the yard, and I looked under all the chairs and around all the bushes and trees, and I called his name real loud, and I felt like crying. It was my fault. I was supposed to hold on to him, and I forgot. Opal, I heard the preacher call. I looked up, and he was standing on the porch with Gloria, and Dunlap and Stevie Dewberry are standing there too. Your guests are here, said the preacher. I don't care, I hollered. Come on up here, Gloria Dump said, her voice all hard and serious. She shone her flashlight at me. I walked onto the porch, and she handed me a flashlight. Tell these boys hey, she said. Tell them you're glad they came and that you will be right back just as soon as you find your dog. Hey, I said, thanks for coming. I just got to find Winn-Dixie, and then I'll be right back. Stevie stared at me with his mouth wide open. You want me to help? Dunlap asked. I shook my head. I tried not to cry. Come here, child, Gloria Dump said. She reached for me and pulled me close to her and whispered in my ear. There ain't no way you can hold on to something that wants to go. You understand? You can only love what you got while you got it. She squeezed me hard. Good luck now, she called as me and the preacher stepped off the porch and out into the rain. Good luck, Miss Franny, called from the kitchen. That dog ain't lost. I heard Sweetie Pie holler to somebody inside. That dog's too smart to get lost. I turned around and looked back, and the last thing I saw on the porch was a light shining on Dunlap Dewberry's bald head. It made me sad. Him standing on Gloria's porch, his bald head glowing. Dunlap saw me looking, and he raised up his hand and waved to me. I didn't wave back. Chapter 24. Me and the preacher started walking and calling Winn-Dixie's name. I was glad it was raining so hard because it made it easy to cry. I cried and cried and cried the whole time. I was calling for Winn-Dixie. Winn-Dixie, I screamed. Winn-Dixie, the preacher shouted, and then he whistled long and loud. But Winn-Dixie didn't show up. We walked all through the downtown. We walked past the Dewberry's house and the Herman W. Block Memorial Library and Sweetie Pie's yellow house and Gertrude's pets. We walked out to the Friendly Corners trailer park and looked underneath our trailer. We walked all the way out to the Open Arms Baptist Church of Naomi. We walked past the railroad tracks and right on down Highway 50. Cars were rushing past us, their taillights glowing red like mean eyes staring at us. Daddy said, "Daddy, what if he got run over?" "Opal," said the preacher, "we can't worry about what might have happened. All we can do is keep looking." We walked, and in my head, I started on the list of 10 things that I knew about Winn-Dixie, things I could write on big old posters and put up in the neighborhood, things that would help people look for him. Number 1 was that he had a pathological fear of thunderstorms. Number 2 was he liked to smile using all his teeth. Number 3, he could run fast. Number 4 was that he snored. Number 5 was that he could catch mice without squishing them to death. Number 6, he liked to meet people. Number 7, he liked to eat peanut butter. Number 8, he couldn't stand to be left alone. Number 9, he liked to sit on couches and sleep in beds. And number 10, he didn't mind going to church. I kept on going over and over my list in my head, and I memorized it the same way I memorized the list of the 10 things about my mama. I memorized it so if I didn't find him, I would have some part of him to hold on to. But at the same time, I thought of something I had never thought of before, and that was a list of things couldn't even begin to show everybody the real Winn-Dixie, just like the 10 things couldn't ever get to know my mama. And thinking about that made me cry even more. Me and the preacher looked for a long time, and finally he said we had to quit. "But Daddy," I said, "Winn-Dixie's out there somewhere. We can't leave him." "Opal," said the preacher, "we have to look. We have looked, and there's only so much looking we can do." "I can't believe you're going to give up," I told him. "India Opal," the preacher said, rubbing his nose, "don't argue with me." I stood and stared at him. The rain had let up some, and it was mostly a drizzle now. "It's time to head back," said the preacher. "No," I told him. "You go ahead. Go. But I'm going to keep on looking." "Opal," said the preacher in a soft voice, "it's time to give up." "You always give up," I shouted. "You always are pulling your head inside your stupid old turtle shell. I bet you didn't even go out looking for Mama when she left. I bet you just let her run off too." "Baby," said the preacher, "I couldn't stop her. I tried. Don't you think I wanted her to stay? Don't you think I miss her every day?" He spread his arms out wide and then dropped them to his sides. "I tried," he said. "I tried." And then he did something I couldn't believe. He started to cry. The preacher was crying, and his shoulders were moving up and down, and he was making snuffy noises. "And I don't believe that losing Winn-Dixie doesn't upset me as much as it does you," he said. "I love that dog. I love him too." "Oh, Daddy," I said. I went and wrapped my arms around his waist. He was crying so hard and was shaking. "It's all right," I told him. "It's okay. Shh." And I told him like he was a scared little kid. "Everything will be okay." We stood there hugging and rocking back and forth, and after a while the preacher stopped shaking, and I still held on to him. And finally I got the nerve to ask the question I wanted to ask. "Did you ever think she's going to come back?" I whispered. "No," said the preacher. "No, I do not. I've hoped and prayed and dreamed about it for years, but I don't think she'll ever come back. Gloria says that you can't hold on to anything, that you can only love what you got while you got it." "She's right," said the preacher. "Gloria Dump is right." "I'm not ready to let Winn-Dixie go," I said. I had forgotten about him for a minute with thinking about Mama. "We'll keep looking," said the preacher. "The two of us will keep looking for him. But do you know what? I just realized something, India Opal. When I told you your Mama took everything with her, I forgot one thing. One very important thing that she left behind." "What?" I asked. "You," he said. "Thank God your Mama left me you." And he hugged me tighter. "I'm glad I've got you too," I told him, and I meant it. I took hold of his hand and we started walking down into town, calling and whistling for Winn-Dixie the whole way. Chapter 25. We heard the music before we even got to Gloria Dump's house. We heard it almost a block away. It was guitar playing and singing and clapping. I wonder what's going on, my father said. We walked up Gloria's sidewalk and around the back, through her yard and into her kitchen. And what we saw was Otis playing his guitar. Miss Franny and Gloria sitting there smiling and singing. Gloria holding Sweetie Pie in her lap. Amanda, Dunlap, and Stevie were sitting on the kitchen floor, clapping along and having the best time possible. Even Amanda was smiling. I couldn't believe they were so happy when Winn-Dixie was still missing. We didn't find him, I shouted. The music stopped, and Gloria Dump looked at me and said, "Child, we know you didn't find him. You didn't find him because he was right here all along." She took her cane and poked at something under the chair. "Come on out of there," she said. There was a snuffle and a sigh. "He's asleep," she said. "He's plumb wore out." She poked around with her cane again, and Winn-Dixie stood up from underneath her chair and yawned. "Winn-Dixie," I hollered. "Dog," Gertrude squawked. Winn-Dixie wagged his tail and showed me all his teeth and sneezed. I went and pushed past everybody. I dropped to the floor and I wrapped my arms around him. "Oh, where have you been?" I asked him, and he yawned again. "How did you find him?" I asked. "Now there's a story," said Miss Franny. "Gloria, why don't you tell it?" "Well," said Gloria, "we were all just sitting around waiting for you two. And after I convinced these Dewberry boys that I ain't no scary witch at all full of spells and potions." "She ain't no witch," Stevie said. He shook his bald head. He looked kind of disappointed. "Nah," said Dunlap, "she ain't. If she was, she would have turned us into toads by now." He grinned. "I could have told you that she wasn't a witch. Witches don't exist," said Amanda. "They are just myths." "All right now," said Gloria. "What happened was we got through all them witchy things, and then Franny said, 'Why don't we have a little music while we wait for the two of you to get back?' And so Otis played his guitar, and woo-wee, there ain't a song he don't know. And if he don't know it, he can pick it up right quick and hum it if you hum it to him. He has a gift." Gloria stopped and smiled over Otis, and he smiled back, and he looked all lit up from inside. "Tell what happened," Sweetie Pie said. "Tell about the dog." "So," said Gloria, "Franny and me started thinking about all those songs we knew from when we were girls. We got Otis to play them, and we started singing them and teaching the words to these children. And then somebody sneezed," Sweetie Pie shouted. "That's right," said Gloria. "Somebody sneezed, and it wasn't none of us. So we looked around wondering who did it, thinking that maybe we got us a burglar in the house. And we looked around and we didn't see nothing. So we started singing again. And sure enough, there was another big achoo. Sounded like it was coming from my bedroom. So I sent Otis up there. I said, "Otis, go on there and see who's sneezing." So Otis went, and do you know what he found? I shook my head. "Winn-Dixie," said Sweetie Pie. "That dog of yours was all hid underneath my bed, squeezed under there like the world was about to end. But he was smiling like a fool every time he heard Otis playing the guitar, smiling so hard he sneezed." My daddy laughed. "It is true," said Miss Franny. "It's the truth," said Stevie. Dunlap nodded and smiled right at me. "So," Gloria Dump said, "Otis played his guitar right to that dog, and a little bit at a time, Winn-Dixie came creeping out from underneath the bed." "He was covered in dust," said Amanda. "He looked like a ghost," said Dunlap. "Yeah," said Sweetie Pie, "just like a ghost." Said Gloria. "Looked just like a ghost. Anyway, the storm stopped for a while, and your dog settled in under my chair and fell asleep. And that's where he's been ever since, just waiting on you to come back and find him." "Winn-Dixie," I said, and I hugged him so tight he sneezed. "We were out there whistling and calling for you, and you were right here all along. Oh, thank you," I said to everybody. "Well," said Gloria Duff, "we didn't do nothing. We just sat there and waited and sang some songs. We all got to be good friends. Now, the punch ain't nothing but water, and the egg salad sandwiches got tore up by the rain. You got to eat them with a spoon if you want egg salad, but we got pickles to eat and litmus lozenges, and we got a party still going on." My daddy pulled out a kitchen chair and set it down. Otis, he said, do you know any hymns? I know some, said Otis. You hum it, said Miss Franny, nodding her head, and he can play it. So my daddy started humming something, and Otis started picking it out on his guitar, and Winn-Dixie wagged his tail, and he lay back down underneath Gloria's chair. I looked at my heart. I felt my heart swell up inside of me with pure happiness. I'll be back in a minute, I said. But they were all singing and laughing now, and Winn-Dixie was snoring, so no one heard me. Chapter 26. Outside, the rain had stopped, and the clouds had gone away, and the cloud was so clear it seemed like I could see every star ever made. I walked all the way to the back of Gloria Dump's yard. I walked back there, looked at her mistake tree. The bottles were quiet. There wasn't a breeze, so they were just hanging there. I looked at the tree, and then I looked up at the sky. Mama, I said like she was standing right beside me, I know 10 things about you. And that's not enough. That's not near enough. But Daddy is going to tell me more. I know he will. Now that he knows you're not coming back. He misses you, and I miss you, but my heart doesn't feel empty anymore. It's full all the way up, and I still think about you, I promise, but probably not as much as I did this summer. That's what I said that night under Gloria Dump's mistake tree. And after I was done saying it, I stood staring at the sky, looking at the constellations and the planets, and then I remembered my own tree, the one Gloria had helped me plant. I hadn't looked at it for a long time. I went crawling around on my hands and knees searching for it, and I found it. And I was surprised how much it had grown. It was still small, and it still looked more like a plant than a tree. But the leaves and the branches felt real strong and good and right. And I was down there on my hands and knees when I heard a voice say, "Are you praying?" I looked up, and it was Dunlap. "No," I said, "I'm not praying, I'm thinking." He crossed his arms and looked down at me. "What about?" he asked. "All kinds of different things," I said. "I'm sorry I called you and Stevie bald-headed babies." "That's all right," he said. "Gloria told me to come out here and get you." "I told you she wasn't a witch." "I know it," he said. "I knew it all along. I was just teasing you." "Oh," I said, and I looked at him closer. It was hard to see him good in the dark. "Ain't you ever gonna stand up?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. And then he surprised me. He did something I never in a million years thought a Dewberry boy would do. He held out his hand and helped me up. And I took it, and I let him pull me to my feet. "I'll race you back to the house," Dunlap said, and he started to run. "Okay," I shouted, "but I'm warning you, I'm fast." And we ran. I beat him. I touched the corner at Gloria Dump's house right before he did. "You shouldn't be running around in the dark," said Amanda. She was all standing on the porch looking at us. "You could trip over something." "Oh, Amanda," said Dunlap, and he shook his head. "Oh, Amanda," I said too. And then I remembered Carson, and I felt bad for her. I went up on the porch and took a hold of her hand and pulled on her. "Come on," I said. "Let's go inside." "India Opal," Daddy said when me and Amanda and Dunlap walked in. "Are you here to sing some songs with us?" "Yes, sir," I said. "Only I don't know that many songs." "We'll teach you," he said. He smiled at me real big. It was a good thing to see. "That's right," said Gloria Dump. "We will." Sweetie Pie was sitting still in her lap, but her eyes were closed. "Care for a litmus lozenge?" Miss Franny asked, passing the bowl. "Thank you," I told her, and I took a litmus lozenge and unwrapped it and put it in my mouth. "Do you want a pickle?" Otis asked me, holding up a big jar of pickles. "No, thanks," I said. "Not right now." Winn-Dixie came out from underneath Gloria Dump's chair. He sat down next to me and leaned into me the same way I was leaning into Daddy. And Amanda stood right there next to me. And when I looked over at her, she didn't look pinch-faced at all to me. Dunlap cracked his knuckles and said, "Well, are we going to sing or what?" "Yeah," Stevie echoed. "Are we going to sing or what?" "Let's sing," said Sweetie Pie, opening her eyes and sitting up straight. "Let's sing for the dog." Otis laughed and strummed his guitar, and the flavor of litmus lozenge opened in my mouth like a flower blooming, all sweet and sad. And then Otis and Gloria and Stevie and Miss Franny and Dunlap and Stevie and Sweetie Pie and my Daddy. all started to sing, and I listened carefully so I can learn it right. And that is the end of our book here. This is Because of Winn-Dixie. If you read the entire book, you can go take your accelerated reader quiz. The quiz number is 39557, and this book is worth 3 points. I hope you enjoyed Because of Winn-Dixie, and good luck on your accelerated reader tests. Bye.